Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lauren Howard. I'm a math teacher here at King's Academy, and I'm here today with Nadia Al Saeed, who is the CEO of Bank Al Etihad. And Nadia, thank you so much for being here with us today. Could you just start by telling us a little bit about what you do and your position at Bank Al Etihad?
Yeah, sure. I'm very happy to be with everybody. My position is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, that is like the General Manager of Bank Al Etihad. As you know, what banks do in a nutshell, banks actually help people manage their money. So banks take deposits and help people with managing their deposits and their revenues. And on the other hand, the banks lend money to companies to be able to run their businesses. And for that, what they do is actually they lend money for the short and medium term for the companies, for example, to be able to pay salaries, to buy raw materials, to pay rent, and so on. And also lend money to individuals to be able to cover whatever they need for their life, things like housing loans, car loans, personal loans. And also banks help companies and people manage their investments. So basically, whatever investment instruments that are needed for people to sort of maintain and increase their wealth. There's also another part of work that the bank does, which is actually which has to do with the financial transactions, the daily banking, the daily transactions. People need to transfer money, to pay salaries, to pay their credit cards, to pay bills, and so on. And as such, there's a lot of interaction in the work of banks because there's a lot of interaction with the customers, and there is a lot of business relationship management, and there is a lot of advisory services. And usually banks operate mostly through their branches, their business centers, their call center, and of course their digital channels, be it the mobile apps and the online apps.
Absolutely. And so it sounds like a big part of the job of a bank is to interact and work with people. And so I'm sure in light of COVID-19, that has needed to shift a little bit. Wondering, can you talk a little bit about what's changed in your day-to-day work with Bank Al Etihad?
Well, actually, it was a really big shift and a big change. To start with, when the pandemic spread, the first 2 weeks probably were a complete lockdown. Banks were closed even at the beginning, and then in the following 2 weeks after, banks were allowed to open just a minimum number of branches with a minimum number of staff. So at the beginning, the first shock was how could people get access to money, because everybody needed to buy things for their homes. How could people get their salaries, and how could they pay what they needed to pay? So of course, at the beginning, the ATMs for a week or 10 days became the only source of banknote that is available for people, and as such, keeping those ATMs full and keeping them secure and keeping them hygiene and sanitized also was a big issue. Also, you know, people needed their salaries. So and on the ATMs, before I leave that, of course, so what we did, we kept the ATMs, and actually we have a mobile branch that we kept going to places where there is no access, and we started looking at solutions for delivering money, things like the options with Careem Money and delivering money through the gig economy or the Careem and Uber and these cars. Also, we had to think of quick ways for people to get their salaries, to be able to use their cards and to settle them. And as such, we were very lucky because we had made a lot of investment in our digital capabilities early on. But of course, some people used them, others didn't. And this was actually a big thing because everybody who didn't use the apps had to, and they had to learn, and they wanted to learn. And the people who didn't have accounts actually wanted to open accounts. So we had a lot of videos, tutorials to help people know how to download the app, how to use it, what are the functionalities, and how it was possible for them to get their salaries, pay all their bills, transfer money, do Western Unions, even transfer money to wallets to other people, and so on. So there was a big part of awareness and tutorials done. And of course, a lot of work that the call center had to do with people also to teach them and to walk them through the things. And actually, that was the only, but probably that was a big opportunity at the time of crisis, where the move, I think the leap in digital banking and financial services probably moved ahead like years, maybe 5 years ahead, which was good. The other part is, like usually all of our employees work from the office, they work from the branches, from the business centers and so on. So all the employees had to work from home. At the beginning, that was 100% working from home. Later, maybe it became like 85% or 90%. Of course, this meant that we had to make sure everyone had enough laptops that can access the bank systems. We had to have access capabilities, extended security measures and capabilities, cyber security, and of course we had to expand our infrastructure capabilities overnight through cloud possibilities. Of course, also managing people who work from home is a totally different thing culturally, because it means different way of allocating tasks, following up on them, of evaluating performance and what's going on. So we put in place a lot of tools, things like Jira and some of the tools that allow you to allocate tasks digitally and be able to follow up on them, and a lot of dashboards. Meetings turned virtual overnight, be it meetings inside the bank or meetings with customers. So everybody is on Zoom, on WebEx, and actually the shift happened quite quickly and smoothly, let me say. As I said earlier, the call center faced a lot of pressure, so we had to triple the number of people who actually answer the calls and answer the chats 24/7, and we had to also expand the infrastructure and the capability very quickly. Of course, another part which is not internal is external. You know that the economy faced a shock. This is something that happened globally and locally. This is something that the world has not seen, where overnight demand and supply just stop, and all the normal ways that people know just stop. And generally, a bank is the mirror of the economy, because like all our clients are all companies from all sectors, from all aspects of life, and from all aspects of business. So of course, this disruption was very big, and it's something that affected our cash flows, our liquidity, the people's ability to pay back the loans during this time. So what does this mean for us? How do we manage, and what kind of mitigation do we do? And at the same time, also, every process had to change. Like in banks, there are a lot of signatures, there are a lot of physical documents, there are a lot of papers. So overnight, everyone had to think in a very innovative way of new processes, new procedures that are accepted from a regulatory point of view, from a legal point of view, to be able to service the customer. I think one thing that the banks can never forget is the customers. I mean, banking is all about customer relationship and all about servicing the customer. So we have to stay close to customers in different ways and cater to what they need. And I think also because we made all this shift in the internal processes and in the apps and in the use of the mobile app, probably, and I mean, like, went up 5 times maybe. Wow. What it was. So basically, this means that security as well becomes a very big issue, because like banks deal with money, and money needs a lot of security. So all of this had to step up drastically, basically.
That's incredible, and it sounds like the bank has taken measures in place. And actually, in fact, I'm sure that there was some type of stimulation that happened when the bank needed to bring more people into the call center, needed to bring more folks in for cybersecurity. So when you're talking about the economic impacts, I'm sure the bank itself was sort of seeing stirrings in different sectors than it had previously been exposed to.
Exactly.
I'm curious, what do you think is going to happen moving forward from this point, sort of as we see COVID die down a little bit? How do you think, what do you think is going to stay the same, and what do you think may change in the industry of banking?
Well, this is the $1 million question. I think, what is the new normal? That's what everybody is asking. what is the new normal. You have to try and estimate what will happen for you to be able, how will you adjust your strategy, and what will you do. Of course, what we do is we build for different scenarios, because nobody knows until now how long will this remain, how long will the lockdown remain, will there be partial opening of businesses, and what businesses will be affected by what, because we need to understand to be able to cope with that, and of course to be able to adjust our strategy. As you know, some of the sectors, for example, are facing huge difficulties. Let's say tourism and airline industry and tourism industry actually is facing a very big ordeal, because we feel that for now their income stopped completely, and it's expected just to stay like this for quite some time. So what do you do with that? And for example, shipping has been affected drastically. On the other hand, there were some sectors which were in much better shape. Things like food, the food industry, the food supplies, the medical, I mean like the pharmaceuticals, specifically the medicines, the sanitizers and the chemicals, for example, they're doing well. And actually some of the online businesses that have been there actually have been doing great. For example, things like Tubbi, which is a medical advisory online platform that played a great role in actually guiding the people. All the educational platforms actually have been doing very well, and the gaming industry has been also doing very well in this lockdown. So basically, it's trying to estimate. Of course, things will not be the same, and it's going to take time for the economy to adjust, and we'll have to see how this works. But because of this, I think banks and companies have been looking carefully at their expenses to try and see how can they reduce expenses that actually do not affect the service and do not affect the quality of what they do, at the same time adjusting into the new situation, and adjust strategy of okay, what do you do now? You have to stand by your clients, you have to support the companies that are actually in going through some trouble, but they can survive later on. So you have to see what will you do. You have to stay very close to your customers to understand, because it's a time of learning. As everybody has been saying, there's no playbook for this. This has never happened before. So we have to keep innovative. We have to keep flexible. We have to be very agile in responding to what's going around us, basically. But I think that the digital leap was a great thing, and we feel that we're going to have to invest more and more in that. And for us, the digital leap, as I said earlier, has to do with our external capabilities, the mobile, the app, the online, and everything, and with our internal processes as well. And for us, we saw that okay, we had to be creative, so we managed to continue all of our services without many of the old processes that turned to be unnecessary. So we would love to see ourselves going forward from that, rather than going back. I've been telling the people I'm not going to be accepting to see a single paper with anyone, because it turned to be that we can actually do things quicker, more efficient, and cheaper. And like digital is cheaper, more efficient, quicker, and better service for people. Of course, we have to keep investing a lot in our infrastructure and capacity, in security. I think new ways of communication, because for us, advisory and relationship management is the key to customer loyalty, basically. So we have to look at what we do with that. The work from home, I think might, at least part of it, will stay as a reality. And for us, the front line probably needs to go back to the office at one point. But many people who are not in the front line maybe can continue working from home, and working from home might be flexible. For example, for women, who and around 50% of our team are actually ladies, so that might come in handy. It might come in handy for lower costs as well. It's only natural that we have to come up with new products and services to cater to the new reality for businesses. Like the small and medium businesses will need a lot of support, will need new kinds of loans. For example, we have been extending immediate loans for them to be able to pay salaries until they go back to business, and to be able to do the necessary. And we've been working with them to do new cash flows, to look at their new business strategies. And, for us in general, we have to focus a lot on how do we manage our risks. banking is all about taking calculated risks. So we look at credit risks, we look at market risks, we look at operational risks that we'll be facing in the new realities.
Yeah, certainly. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful, and I'm excited for our students to learn from you.